The game development club at Fujo Academy is in danger of being disbanded, and its president, Roka, attempts to recruit members at the front gates. When her flyers are scattered, Kenji helps her pick them up. Kenji is the leader of the delinquent group made up of his two close friends, Yokoshima and Nagiyama. When he notices a fire coming from the game development club room, he hurriedly puts it out and is exasperated to learn it was due to them lighting fireworks indoors. However, instead of thanking them, the club members use their various elements, including tasing, waterboarding, charming, and punching, to subdue Kenji and his friends. Kenji attempts to escape, but Rilke manages to track him down, thanking him for his help both with the flyers and the fire. She then reveals her true element is darkness, putting a bag over his head and kidnapping him. He meets the other members, Chitose, who mainly uses her fists covered in sand or dirt, Minami, who uses a taser, and Sakura, who often carries a water bottle. He's coerced into joining their club, and he willingly signs the form, plotting to steal it from the staff room later. However, Minami turns out to be the faculty club advisor, forcing him to snatch it back and escape again. During the commotion, he is nearly killed while breaking out of Roka's darkness element, but she manages to pull him back to safety. But she fears the damage to her belly may have dashed her dreams of having a family in the future. Feeling sorry for her and sensing her passion for the club, Kenji decides to join. The next day, Ataru, Kenji's childhood friend and vice president, warns him that the club he joined is dangerous, especially Chitose, who happens to be the student council president. He declares her his eternal rival, but it turns out he is actually a masochist, deriving pleasure from Chitose's harsh and Spartan treatment. Realizing that spitting on them would only make Ataru happy, she decides to throw an entire locker at them. In the process of fighting back, Ataru and Kenji land in the girls' dressing room, and they are suspended as a result. Later, Roka expresses her gratitude to Kenji for joining, and hopes he has fun with them all. Takao, the president of the real game development club, is enraged that the fake one has not disbanded due to Kenji joining them. Alongside her fellow club members, they don black cloaks and attempt to intimidate Kenji. With the encouragement of Oka and Anada, Takao demands Kenji leave the fake game club. He refuses and tries to leave, but they form a human barricade. Takao correctly predicts that Kenji wouldn't hit a girl. He instead turns his attention to Oka, whose gender is unclear to him. Takao and Anada are afraid that Kenji will find out that Oka isn't a girl, but instead of a feminine, pretty boy. Fortunately, Oka is cross-dressing underneath her cloak, convincing Kenji while earning Anada's seal of approval. The final member, Yamada, an imposing but pacifistic man, blocks his path. He pretends to also be a girl, and Kenji punches him in the face. As a last resort, Takao threatens to call the police, but they are shocked when they actually arrive. They interrogate them regarding reports of hooded individuals harassing a civilian. They feign ignorance and give up Yamada, the only member still in his cloak, to be arrested. The next day, the game club wonders what they should do for the upcoming cultural festival. Suddenly, Takao bursts in and demands that they disband, but she didn't think her plan through, so she is pelted with water and sand. Kenji notices some friction between Takao and Roka, and Chitose explains that Roka used to be part of the real game club in her first year. Due to Roka's eccentricity, she was shunned, so Chitose ended up harassing them until their membership dwindled. She then decided to form a game club with Roka, causing Takao to treat her as a traitor. In truth, Takao has always wanted to develop games with Roka. Takao challenges them to a game contest at the upcoming festival, and the loser will be absorbed into the other club. There's just one problem. Roka and her club have no idea how to make a game. Chitose declares that their victory rests in how well they can sabotage them. Minami suggests outright tasing them, unbecoming of a teacher. After Kenji loses a game of Super Marilyn, he and Roka are sent to spy on Takao. She lets Kenji in, but she refuses Roka entry. Takao tries to convince Kenji to give up, since there is no way for their fake club to win, but he refuses, knowing that there is a significance to the club that Chitose and Roka made together. When they return, they find Minami, Chitose, and Sakura playing a board game of their own design, the Space Arrow Scuffle game, where you try to sneak contraband alien erotica magazines across the galaxy. Strangely, this gives Kenji an idea of how to win. The next day, Takao adjusts the rules. Instead of who makes the best game, it is now whose club attracts the most visitors. If the fake game club wins, Chitose wants to do incredibly lewd things to Takao's chest. Anada, who wants to see that for herself, accepts on her behalf. Takao's club attracts many visitors, but when Kenji drops by, he invites her to see theirs. She is baffled by the gigantic attraction they have set up, stuffed with all sorts of analog games, constructed on the backs of slave labor thanks to Chitose's authority. Takao begins to cry, but Chitose apologizes for how she treated her club all those years ago. She explains that Roka has finally found a place she can call home and asks that she not take that away from her. They find Roka in a booth of her own, where she lets people act out movie scenes. Takao admits defeat, and she and Roka reconcile. Roka later thanks Kenji for all his help, and he tells her first to remove her funny mask before she says anything sappy. Meanwhile, Chitose has not forgotten their wager and corners Takao for their reward. While trying to come up with names to differentiate their two game clubs, Minami reveals that they had an official one all along. The next day, Kenji runs into the evil orchestra of 14, led by a man named Odawara. Ataru explains that they are some fearsome delinquent group known for hogging the music games at arcades. Angered, they beat up Kenji and his friends, leaving Ataru to report the incident to Working Title, and they plan a rescue. Meanwhile, Kenji awakens to find him and his friends captured. Odawara orders Kenji's bag to be inspected, and they are intrigued by the space arrow scuffle game that Roka snuck in. They begin bickering over who gets to play first, and Odawara suggests that they first split into 2 groups, knowing that there are only 9 of them present. Unexpectedly, he is left alone. They wager pictures of a girl named Funabori and Takao to decide who gets to play first. In a desperate move, Odawara forms a team with Kenji and his friends, but Kenji says that he should seriously just take charge of his gang. However, Odawara unexpectedly destroys the board game, enraging Kenji. The girls finally arrive, claiming to have gotten lost while looking for the bathroom. The orchestra is insanely jealous that Kenji has 4 girls to come rescue him. They see this as an opportunity to take down President Chitose, but despite being outnumbered, the orchestra drop like flies. Eventually, Roka joins the fray, whom Odawara identifies as the feared Lord of Darkness, said to be the strongest fighter in the entire school. They release Kenji, and Roka invites him to play Space Arrow Scuffle Volume 3, completely erasing the reason he got angry for them in the first place. The next day, Kenji and Takao are unwittingly forced to play Space Arrow Scuffle Volume 3, since Roka improved the game to handle 5 players. She asks them to choose the character they want, but the only ones available are Garandi and a gross alien character. Roka throws her character Joe into the mix, and they play rock, paper, scissors to decide who gets who. But when she loses on the first throw, she changes the rule to first to 3. Roka plays a special move called Timeout, enabling her to do whatever she wants for them for 2 minutes. Kenji and Takao play the exact same thing the following round, but Takao uses it to try and get to know Kenji more. Eventually, they run out of time, and Roka asks Chitose to develop a human character for the next time they play. The next day, Roka and Chitose visit Kenji's classroom to eat lunch with him, since his hand is still injured from the earlier fight with Orchestra 14. While Roka and the others eat Kenji's lunch, Chitose asks him why he diligently attends classes despite being a delinquent. He explains that his next class with Mr. Sean is different, since he rescued him, his friends, and Raigagar Man from a burning department store building. With lunchtime ending, Chitose feeds him some of her bento, but he drops it and tries feeding it to him again. He refuses to eat something filthy, but she reveals that Funabori has been diligently cleaning the classroom every morning, so how dare he say the floor is dirty. But as soon as he eats it, she points out that so many people have walked across the classroom by now, so he ate something disgusting. As lunchtime ends, Funabori offers him some lunch, and Sean pretends to have forgotten some papers to allow him time to eat. Later, Takao approaches Kenji and gives him some bread. Sean sees them again and politely excuses himself, and the pair admire how cool he is. Kenji meets Hachi, an old friend of Roka's and a member of Working Title. He appears to be overly fond of Roka, but she hates the attention. Funabori explains that Hachi is the heir to the wealthy Shio conglomerate and is popular among the students for his looks, grades, and personality. However, as Hachi recounts his first meeting with Roka, Kenji realizes he's a masochistic pervert just like Ataru. Later, Hachi challenges Kenji to a duel, and the prize being Roka's torture hood bag. Although Kenji has no interest in the bag itself, he is always itching for a duel. Fubinori brings in the hood, cleanly washed and ironed, setting the stage for their duel. Several members attempt to escape, but Chitose and Fubinori end up stuck with them. Roka strong-arms into joining herself, and so does Takao. After gathering the first 4 initial participants, Chitose gathers more in staggering numbers, bringing the grand total to 48. After an exhaustive introduction by Anata of the various participants, she introduces the original 4 one by one. But when they get to Takao, they realize that her tracksuit is too small for her due to her large chest. Though a great and heroic effort, she manages to stuff it inside, and the scene is so moving that Chitose considers ending the competition right there. Anata reveals the prize, a hood hand-washed and ironed by Fubinori, which is apparently a prize everyone wants. Anata announces that the first contest is a piss competition, short for Push It, Shoving Showdown. Contestants begin pushing each other out of the ring left and right, and Kenji rescues Takao by being pushed out. However, she pushes him out too since she doesn't want to win. As they argue, her tracksuit can take no more, and the zipper pops out, hitting Kenji squarely in the face. But the battle is only beginning, and they are instructed to continue into the next round. Kenji wakes up having been treated by Fubinori and an apologetic Takao. To his confusion, he has been promoted to the next round, and despite being unconscious, he was seated so high that he is now in a semi-final thumb wrestling match against Hachi. On the other side of the field, the more popular match between Takao and Roka is occurring. Originally a game of musical chairs, it devolved into a tackling match between them, and both are completely exhausted. Fubinori asks Kenji who he would prefer to fight in the finals, but he says he has no preference. This angers Roka because Kenji previously said he'd want to fight her. She gets serious, and as Takao braces herself to be tackled, Rilke unexpectedly chooses to sit on the chair and win instead. Kenji has also triumphed on his end, and the two are headed to the finals. For the last event, Inada draws the King's Game, an event that is nearly impossible with just two people. They tweak the rules and include only two sticks, one with King and the other without. The game all boils down to luck. He asks Yamada, the cupbearer, to bend down so that Rilke can easily grab a stick. They both show off how lucky they were in the past year, with Rilke winning a rare gacha prize, and Kenji finding an envelope containing 10,000 yen, a grandfather's gift to some girl named Tama. He returned it to the police, thus preserving his good luck. When the match finally begins, Kenji creates his own luck by purposefully locking their sticks in the rim, snapping them in half. Then, using Yamada as a springboard, he leaps into the air and snatches the King's stick himself. Rilke admits defeat and tells Kenji to cherish her torture hood. Kenji and Takao are called into the teacher's lounge over Takao's zipper-boying accident, not the fact that they caused a school-wide disruption. Minami explains that several students have tried recreating her zipper-boying, leading to severe damage to both foreheads and self-esteem. This has called into question the durability of the school's tracksuits, but they notice that Minami herself has always been wearing one. She explains that a girl named Totsuka was very friendly to her. Noticing that Minami's clothes were always in tatters, she gave her her old tracksuit for her to wear. They are all touched by her story, but when Minami checks the jacket again, it turns out the girl's name was Noborito. In the end, Kenji convinces them that there is no issue with the tracksuits after all, and Minami lets them go. Takao offers to take Kenji out to lunch as thank you for defending her. However, she completely forgot that their meeting is on the same day as the release of the highly anticipated game Sorcery Village, forcing them to sit in line early in the morning. After Takao gives an exhaustive history of the repetitive video game franchise, they spot a familiar-looking tent out in front and see Rilke crawling out of it. Takao hides herself underneath a cloak that they stole from a cosplayer beside them. Kenji tries to drive Rilke away, and she says she will if he demonstrates the fire archer skill from the game. She then asks him if he's taking care of her torture hood, and he replies that he always carries it with him. Rilke is visibly moved and says goodbye before leaving. However, this causes Takao to become jealous, and she runs off. She realizes she did something immature, but Kenji suddenly appears as the other people let him go first to buy the game for Takao. They reconcile and head out to have lunch together as planned, but she is broke after spending all her money on the game. When Hachi wants to satisfy his masochistic tendencies by stuffing his face inside Kenji's bag in place of Rilke's torture hood, Ataru gets the same idea. Kenji tries to hold them off and tasks Funabori with keeping his bag safe, but she gets confused and stuffs her head inside it. This wins over the two perverts and they dub her the Tight Queen. The next day, Noa, Kenji's sister, pays a visit to the working title when he isn't around. The girls can tell she is Kenji's sister after feeling how spiky her hair is. They start messing around with her, such as assigning her ice as an element, and they are impressed with how well she can play the straight man. Rilke notices that Takao has a limited edition Sorcery Village strap and wonders how she got it. Realizing that Kenji's honor is at stake, she lies that she ordered it for him to get it for her. However, this has the unintended effect of making Noa terrified of her, since nobody has ever ordered her brother around before. She blames Takao's big bazookas for causing her brother trouble, and she is sent flying back after she gets her hands on them. She cries back to her brother, and when he learns that she met the working title club, he buys her some Haagen-Dazs ice cream. The next day, Takao tries to apologize to Noa, but she remains terrified of her. She offers to bring Kenji's bento herself, but Rilke interjects and grabs it. The two fight over it for different reasons. Takao wants an excuse to talk to Kenji, while Rilke wants to eat the bento. It lands in Takao's chest and flies down the hall, sending shockwaves all the way to Hawaii. In a noble sacrifice, the gluttonous Rilke gives up her bento for Kenji's sake, while she, Noa, and Takao simply eat bread for lunch. Kenji is kidnapped by Tama, a senior, and the former student council president. He meets her former cabinet, Matsubara, Shinzen, and Naganuma. Tama has a bit of a score to settle with the working title club, so she used him as bait. When the working title club learn that he has been kidnapped yet again, Chitose and the others rescue him. Kenji gets a text from Ataru that his nickname from now on is Princess Pinch because he keeps getting kidnapped for some reason. Along the way, they encounter Shinzen inside Ire. Working title initially overwhelm her, but Ire goes into overdrive and begins spinning. But because it can only move in a straight line, they are able to simply walk around it. But when it nearly crushes Takao's precious phone strap, she crushes it with her bare hands. Tama expected Shinzen would lose, and she suddenly thanks Kenji for returning the 10,000 yen gift to the police, revealing she is the very same Tama. Working title finally arrived to save Kenji, who they keep calling Princess Pinch. However, Tama proves to be a more formidable foe than previously expected, able to fight back against both Chitose and Roka's bag attack. Tama has grown tired of Working Title's existence and also bears a grudge against Chitose for being even more of a tyrant than she was. Kenji challenges them to a match for their club's very survival, but they don't know what that match is yet because they didn't think that far. Takao suggests a game of Cell Thieves. They will each write a question on their cell phone, and the opposing player will try to snatch it from them, answer the question, and present it to the judge. Although she doesn't intend for it to be a dangerous game, Kenji, Chisato, and Tama are going to make it one. Since Roka has yet to recover from their earlier attack, Chisato tasks him with bringing her to the infirmary while she takes care of Tama. As Fujisaki begins the countdown, Kenji's path is blocked by the Orchestra 14. Fortunately, the Kazama family and their allies come to their rescue, and they comfortably make it past. However, the game begins and Matsubara, who is waiting in the wings, attacks them. Sakura volunteers to fight her. As the fight develops into a stalemate, Roka asks to be put down and sends Kenji back to reinforce Chitose. She encourages him to use his special secret move, the vertical jump, which is actually way lamer than when you say it out loud. He calls Takao and asks to be put on speaker, and Chitose to hold out until he arrives. She puts her hair into a ponytail, and Tama remarks that there is no way one tail can beat her pigtails, causing Kenji to question how stupid their fight is. The teachers begin betting on which group will win the battle. Sean bets a crystal skull, while the normally straight-laced Fukuko bets a cupcake that one of her seniors baked for her. In a flashback, Chitose's sister hopes that she can one day make lots of friends, and her prayers are answered when Roka offers to help her build the biggest sandcastle. Meanwhile, a young Tama tries to foil them at every turn, prompting them to bury her in the sand. On that day, the three became sworn enemies. After arguing over pigtails and ponytails, Kenji and Chitose prepare to fight back for the sake of their club. Tama's kabuki-styled pigtail attacks and sumo slaps are ridiculously powerful, effortlessly blowing Kenji away. Ataru excitedly asks to be used as a human shield, but when Tama protests, Fujisaki says that Ataru is being used as an object, so it's all good. Things seem hopeless, but in one instance, Takao helps keep Kenji from falling. But Chitose throws a mud ball at Tama, giving Kenji an opening to remove her pigtails. With her only defense against the torture hoods gone, Rilke bags her for the first time since kindergarten. Tama admits defeat and leaves them in peace. In the aftermath, Tama starts dropping by the working title club to play, while Takao tries growing her hair out to suit Kenji's tastes. While playing Space Arrow Scuffle, Minami tells them that due to their disruptive game of tag, they are all suspended until further notice.